Thanks for clicking on Wayne.com, where we, unlike the Komets, are always right here. Komets,
where were we last week?
Well, we weren't here last week. I was in Sioux Falls last week. But I'm thinking from a metaphysical sense.
Okay, gotcha. You're saying our head's in the game.
Our head is in the game, and we are here to provide you with coverage you won't see anywhere else. And you probably don't want to see it.
I didn't know you could blush through all your makeup.
Yes,
That's
well,
awful,
it's... I'm not tan yet. It's not.
Yeah, well, I'm never tan, so I wouldn't know.
We've got the Komets playing 7 games in a row out west. Obviously, it was a huge road trip. We previewed it a bunch coming in. Now that that's all finished, obviously they play at Evansville on Thursday, so technically still kind of a road swing. But they're done with the out west games.
And they get to come home and sleep in their own beds for 3 nights.
Yeah. What's your overall take from their 7 games out west?
It's pretty amazing. They were 3-2-2. And the 2 that they lost were both 1-goal games with empty net goals. So they could have really had an amazing trip. And then you lose 6 players off of the team you started with. And then you got to find 6 players somehow. And they did that. And they were 3-0-2 for the last 5. And they lost 1 in a shootout and 1 in overtime. So those could have gone anyway. I mean, they could have been 5-0. I mean, and the thing of it is, the craziest thing out of the whole thing is completely out of their control, but they actually gained 2 points on Cincinnati in the division race. Now, how nuts is that?
If you're Gary Graham, what do you learn about this team during that stretch? Because you've had 2 weeks to be together, to practice together. I mean, they couldn't get away from each other for 2 weeks. What have you learned about this team in this span?
Well, it's the same thing. It's the same thing we've been talking about all year. Stay out of the blasted penalty box. They gave up the last 16 games before Saturday night. They were giving up an extra power play chance per game, and they were giving up a power play goal per game. All these 1-goal games that they've had, like 13 out of 17, those power play goals add up to a lot. That's the whole thing in a nutshell right there, and it's been that way since opening day. I mean, opening night. I mean, we've talked about that, and this just kind of reinforces and really hammers it home that, all those 1-goal games, and we were giving up a power play goal per game, and we were giving up an extra power play advantage per game. We clean that up, we're good, And that's what they got to do. It really is what they have to do. Well,
they get to work at home quite a bit. They got 12 games left in the regular. Yeah, 9 games out of 12. 12 games left.
Sleep in your own bed every night.
Right. And actually, after the Evansville game on Thursday night, you're talking 9 of 11. Yep. So a lot can be done at home, where you're going to get some ice time, you're going to get the practice in, you're going to get some rested legs.
You should get healthier.
Yeah, exactly. What do you think they need to do over these next 12 games to get themselves prepared and get themselves ready for the playoffs?
I'm not looking at a record so much as the discipline. I want to see defensive discipline, and I want to see penalty discipline. I thought it was amazing that they played as well defensively as they did in the last couple games in Alaska, considering how much wider that ice was, 15 feet wider. It's like a whole different game. But I thought they really played it well, and they were smart about it. I want to see that translate here.
When you take a look at what they've been able to do going into the third period, this is a team that's 24-0 when they lead heading into the third. So they haven't choked. They haven't coughed up leads. When they get a lead, they've been fantastic. What do you chalk that up to? What is the key in that success there?
A couple things. Pat Nagel, blocking shots is another one. And because they just don't give up many shots in the third period. They'll let you shoot all day from the blue line. But anything closer, you're going to have to get the puck through 2 other guys before it gets to Pat. They do a great job at blocking shots. I think Gabriel Beaupre, he blocks more shots than Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, Dikembe Mutombo. I mean, that's all that guy does is block shots. He must be a living bruise right now. But that's it. They're dedicated to protecting Pat.
As far as this team goes, the 8 goals in the final game of this road trip, what does that tell you? Does it tell you that they've got some guys with fresh legs? Does it tell you that the offense is clicking? What does it tell you? Because you look at this road trip and you think, okay, maybe at the end they start to peter out. Maybe they run out of steam. Maybe they run out of gas. But they don't. They come up with 8 goals for the first time in 2-3 years.
Watching the game, you could see right off the bat the guys had their legs. Their legs were back. They didn't have their legs for the first 2 games up there. And it was obvious. You could see the frustration in their faces because they're like, I want to do this and I can't. Their legs were gone. And they had figured out how to use that wider ice surface up there, which I kept thinking, what would the MIG line have done with that bigger ice surface? They never would have given up the puck, And that's kind of what the Komets did. They got back to their short passing game, and bing, 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 goal. You know, I mean, they were very smart about it. You could tell that they had listened to the scouting report and had taken it on and were executing it. And they finally got their legs back. I mean, they had a little bit of the flu they were dealing with too. But what was really neat about the whole trip is there's like 8 guys who averaged a point a game on the trip. That's pretty good considering that Colorado was desperate. Rapid City's got Pataccio, who's never easy to beat no matter what. They scored 6 on him, even though they lost. But scoring 6 on Pataccio, that's all world right there. You know, and then they got 8 Saturday night. So the offense is really starting to click. They actually lead the league right now in goals per game, which is kind of crazy. It's only 3.42, which is not great. It's not like it was in the 80s, but it's still, you're leading the league, and your power play has come back a little bit.
Well, a lot of this is prepping for the playoffs.
Yes.
Because obviously, you know, you're testing out some guys,
like
testing
we said
out some
2
lines.
weeks ago,
It's all getting
build
ready for the
something.
postseason, at this point. So you got the 12 games left, but you're battling Idaho for the number 2 seed. I mean, they've clinched the number 1 seed. Point-wise, they're far ahead of everybody.
Yeah.
So that's out of sight, out of mind. How important is it for them to get this number 2 seed, not the number 3 seed, when it comes down to everything that's going to happen as far as the postseason goes?
Well, it's going to be home ice versus Idaho, essentially. That's going to be the second round if you get there. It's going to depend on home ice. Do you want to play 4 games in Fort Wayne or 4 games in Idaho? I think you'd rather play them in Fort Wayne, especially as good as the Komets have been at home this season. Now, the schedule kind of breaks your way with the 9 home games, and I think Idaho has 7 road games, too. So out of the 12 games left. Or they have 10 games left. I think they have 7 road games. So that really helps. And Idaho has a much tougher schedule down the stretch, too. The Komets have 2 games in hand, which is one of them is Thursday night. Thursday night is kind of a big game. I really wonder what's going to happen there.
And obviously, they're playing Evansville, but some big news coming out of Evansville for next season. Obviously, we knew they were going to move to Owensboro, but the board, you know, putting the rubber stamp on that, if you will. But they're also going to go dark for the 2016-2017 season. What does that mean for the ECHL? What does it mean for the Komets? Because this is a team they are used to playing. Does that stretch them out more geographically in terms of scheduling in the future?
Probably not, but I think it's a great move by the ECHL.
Really?
I really do. Because why go into a building that's half finished? You're just going to make yourselves look bad. And there's already enough criticism, enough doubt about moving to Owensboro from all the Evansville folks and stuff. Why not just start fresh? You know, I don't know what that does for Al, who's got a year left on his contract. Maybe he sits out and gets paid. I don't know. But I think that's a good move because, you know, too often these teams start up and think, oh, we're all set 6 months. No, it takes 18. It really does. It takes 18 months to get set up. I mean, Indy's the perfect example. They've never recovered from their start. And they're never going to recover from their start with that owner. So it's, you know, it's just going to be, you got to do it right. And this gives Owensboro the chance to do it right.
Bringing it full circle, you got the Evansville game on Thursday. You got 2 games against Quad City at home Friday, Saturday. What are you looking forward to in this week? What are some of the things that you're keying on? Because obviously they're coming back from that road trip and trying to gear up for the playoffs.
I don't even care about wins and losses this week.
Yeah.
Because they've got, I mean, I'm exhausted and I didn't travel. I was just up watching the games and then going to gymnastics Saturday morning. I'm exhausted. They got to just be whipped. You know, so let's just see them get healthy. Let's see what Daniel Barzak does this week. He's coming in. He's activated today on the roster. He's going to have fresh legs. Let's see if Pat can continue how he played for the most part out there. Let's see if Spencer Martin can get his head going, get it straight after the really bad game on Friday night. Let's just see the little things. Let's see the penalty kill work. Let's stay out of the box. Worry about that kind of stuff more than the wins right now. Even though they need the wins, but you don't know what to expect when they got to be this exhausted. I mean, I can't imagine. They've got to be just fried. They flew home overnight last night because that was what was available. And you flew into Chicago and then you had to bus 3.5 hours here. I can't imagine what practice is going to look like tomorrow or Wednesday. And Thursday's game, that's a flip a coin.
Yeah, that's not exactly the easiest trip either.
No.
Pretty rough in the bus. All right, so that wraps up really a big road swing for the Komets, and they're going to be back home, as you mentioned, 9 times over the last 12, which gives us plenty of time to go out and see the K's on home ice. For Blake, I'm Glenn, and we'll see you next Monday.